Hello students, today I am going to start the second part of the chapter, the enemy. Previously, we have already studied that Dr. Sadao, a Japanese doctor, and his wife Hana, they saw a man coming out of the sea, of that water, and when they ran near to him, they found that the man was wounded. Later on, when they saw that it was a white man, okay, and he was an American prisoner of war. On his cap it was written US Navy. Later on they brought that man home, and when they informed the workers, okay, the servants of their house about that man, they became very angry. Hana's maid servant Yumi, actually, she even refused to wash that white man. So Hana did that for that white man. She cleaned his chest and all, and this is what we have learned in the previous part. Now the next point, that is Tom operated on. First thing, who was Tom? Tom was that white American, okay, who had been brought in the house of the Japanese doctor, Dr. Sadao. And as he was wounded, so being a doctor, he could not hand that patient to the police because it would die. And that man was their enemy because he was an American, and America and Japan were at war at that time. Okay, so how did he save his life? Tom operated on. Sadao asked Hana to help him turn the man. She was asked even to give anesthesia when required or when needed. The bullet was still there in his body, okay, on the lower back side. So he had lost much blood also just because of that bullet wound. Then Hana couldn't bear the sight of that operation because she had not seen operation earlier. So Sadao went on with his work, but she came out with a bottle and some cotton in her hand. Earlier she ran away from there. Then with a very clean and precise incision, the bullet was taken out by Dr. Sadao. The man quivered, he was shivering, but was still unconscious. He only muttered a few words in English. Dr. Sadao declared that the man would live in spite of all. Okay, it means the man would be saved. The next point, the young man woke up terrified. The next morning, when Hana entered that young man's room, the young man woke up. He was very weak, he was terrified, okay, and Hana went near to him and she asked him not to be afraid. On the third day, Sadao examined the wound, okay, of Tom. Then Tom asked what they were going to do with him the next. Sadao didn't answer anything. Okay, he was not ready to answer Tom. Tom was a prisoner of war and he should have been handed over to police. Actually, this is what was going on in his mind, that they will definitely hand me over to the police. Next, the servants grew ruthless. Which servant? The servants working in Sadao's house. Okay, so the servants, they grew more and more watchful daily. The man thanked the doctor, the man, that is Tom, for saving his life. Sadao examined the wound carefully every day, and the last stitches were also pulled out. Okay, and the young man would be alright within a fortnight, within 15 days, within a period of 2 weeks. On the 7th day, the servant left altogether. Okay, but Hana, what she did, she paid them all and sent them off. She even thanked all of them for the work they have done for her and her husband. Okay, so this is the point, that is servants grew ruthless, they become more watchful. The next point is the old general. old general of the Japanese army. Okay, so the old general, he was sick. He knew that Sadao was indispensable to him. He didn't want Sadao to be arrested, okay, because just keeping an enemy in his house or sheltering an enemy in his house, he was about to be operated also. Suppose he felt that if I am sick and I need an operation in emergency, then I need Dr. Sadao, okay, and he didn't trust any other surgeon. The general later on hit upon an idea, a plan, that it would be best if the American could be killed very quietly. What he planned? He planned that he could send two of his private assassins to his house, to Dr. Sadao's house at night to kill that American. Now Sadao agreed that it would be very natural. Okay, the next point is Sadao saved Tom but wondered why. Now Sadao waited the whole night. Okay, when he thought of that general, he agreed to his plan also, general's plan. Sadao thought over that he would definitely send his private assassins as he has promised. Okay, and waiting that night, he didn't tell anything to Hana even. The next morning, he went to the guest room and he thought of putting his boat, his personal boat, to the shore that very night, with some food and extra clothing for that white American. Now he thought that the American might be able to row to the nearby island, little island where no one lived. Okay, so the young American was instructed everything about how to escape from there. Means Dr. Sadao gave all the instructions, necessary instructions to Tom, that if he falls short of food and all, he should have, or he should carry a torch and should give 2 flashes. Then there will be a Korean fishing boat that will be helping. This is what he was instructed to Tom. Now the young American, he walked down into the garden in that darkness. Sadao later on informed the general that the American had escaped, or the young man had escaped. The general couldn't keep his promise because he himself was sick just because of his own illness, and what he had promised, that he would be sending his private assassins to kill the white American, but he could not keep up his promise. The prisoner had gone safe, means there were no signals even from the island as Dr. Sadao had instructed him, so he could not get any signal. He thought that the prisoner had safely escaped from there. He finally later on remembered the white face of that man. Okay, and he said to himself, what? He said, I wondered why I could not kill him, because he was his enemy. So Dr. Sadao wondered that even though he was an enemy, but I had not killed that man. The reason was very simple. He was a doctor by profession, and the doctor's first profession is to treat the patient very well. Okay, but he was a human being as well, even though it was an enemy. Okay, the man was an enemy, but still he saved his life. So this is the chapter, the enemy.